Okay, let's talk about box hip extension variations that we love doing. Now, before we actually kind of show some variations on the box, why do we actually do any hip extension work on here? Well, simply put, a lot of the kind of hip extension work that we tend to do, which is effectively doing this motion here, is normally with our feet anchored, okay? So things like, let's say RDL, just kind of imagine the barbells in front of you there, Phil, for me, please. Okay, so we obviously use the glutes to extend the hips up or the trunk up effectively, right? Obviously, the idea is, we want to now not kind of be anchored to the feet, anchor ourselves through upstairs, then work the downstairs. So here are some of the variations that we love doing on the box, starting with the box straddles, which is the simplest and easiest way to make this accessible, okay? So knees are bent. Now making sure, because we're lying on our stomach and obviously our diaphragm, it gets a little bit, kind of hard to breathe, so make sure you're bracing appropriately, okay? From there, we're gonna go out, just 3 reps for me, please. Legs go nice and wide, then back in, okay? Now the big thing with this is to make sure, obviously being in a straddle position means your levers are gonna be fairly small, okay? From here, donkey kick for me, please, which is gonna be a little bit more hectic because now your legs stay there up all the time. You're going to be effectively using the quads to straighten your legs, hamstrings to bring the heels in, making sure the glutes are engaged all the time. Now from here, we can go into, okay, let's go reverse hypers, boom, but with bent knee, or that straight leg. Okay, let's choose a variation, boom. From here, now we can either extend the knees straight out. The levers are nice and long here. Of course, there's a lot of work for the hamstring and the butt happening, as opposed to let's bring the knees into the box and go out into that variation out there. Boom, this is also, the end is the same, but how we get there is slightly different, okay? And rest. Now there are quite a few variations as you've seen there. The biggest thing and the biggest reason we tend to kind of do this work on box like this is because for bodyweight strength work, so let's say calisthenic or gymnastics, we tend to do a lot of work in the posterior pelvic tilt, okay? So as the name suggests here, okay, the hyperextension type of work, we don't want to actually hyperextend through the lower back region, but we do want to get strong from this region to be able to then hold the legs out below us. So think about skills like planches and back levers, okay? We don't want to hyperextend from the lower back per se, but we do want to be extending through the hips aggressively. So what this means is we need to be working the glutes and securing the lower back, okay? So let's just kind of go into any variations of the straddle, box. Any variation that you want to, please, Phil, okay? Now notice here, guys, okay, as he does this work, look at the hip orientation. Everything starts with the hips. Now this also means look at the lower back region too. So if I stand away, you can see that nice little arch in the lower back as he comes up in any variation. Obviously the hips are coming down with him in slight posterior tilt as well. So he's really working his glutes and his lower back region. Yes, there's a little bit of stress in the hamstring and so on and so forth too, and rest, but we're really trying to galvanize and reinforce strength from this and this area effectively. Now if we were to take this a little bit step further and use it in flexibility context, so let's go to that box straddle for this variation, please. We had originally employed the box straddles pretty heavily because this means we can start to get stronger in these outer ranges, okay, for the adductors a little bit, but really the idea is the shortened state of the glutes. And bringing things in one more time. Notice the details here are the toes are pointed down to the ground as opposed to flaring out like so, okay? So toes pointed, sorry, just turn your toes in. This is what we want, okay, as opposed to toes turned out aggressively, because that will change what's happening in the butt and rest. Carrying that over to, let's say, something like a middle split work or any active type of work, we can obviously now start to use the strength that we've built up and put it to different variations, okay, like so. Okay, so these are the reasons, thank you, Phil, okay, that we tend to do many variations of hip extension on a box.